Good morning, good evening, whatever. You have to forgive me because I'm full of cold. I feel rough. But anyway, as it says, I'd like to my story of how I quit drinking. Now, I have to say straight away, I had to. I didn't have a choice in the matter really. If I wanted to carry on living, I got cirrhosis of the liver, the alcoholic one. As I said before, I was basically drinking beer, about 4.6%. Now I've been drinking beer since the age of about 14. I was going into pubs at 16, and in them days we didn't have to have ID, so you know, I was just telling them I was 18 and I was getting in. This was in England, I have to stress. So I was living in England, drinking in a pub, and then got into the usual habit of England, of after work you go to the pub, you'd have a few pints and you'd go home. Then at the weekends you'd go out, on Sunday dinner you'd go out, have a few drinks and go home. Every single day of the week, especially I was married, but then when I was single, because before I met my ex-wife and after, when we divorced or when we split up, whatever, then I was single and I was still in my 20s then, and I was doing it anyway. Plus I had a job where I was driving a truck, but I was going to Spain, holiday resorts, and so when I got to these resorts I'd be drinking. Like weekends, I'd make sure I got the weekend off and I'd be out as if I was on holiday. So the noise in the background is my two dogs. As soon as I get on here they start not fighting but playing, and then in a minute it will start getting worse into a fight. Anyway, back to the story. So I moved to Norway 21 years ago, 22 soon, and then I was still drinking, of course, but because we didn't go to the pubs over here, I'd go and buy beer, and after finishing work I'd have a few beers, and then as time went on, then a few beers got into more beers, and everybody's got the story of how they were drinking, but I had what I thought was reasons, and you know, stress and missing family, and it was okay to have a few drinks being at the weekend, which then went into every day again, and then it got more and more and more, and then I'd think to myself I better cut down, and then I thought, well, I can't, it's Friday, you know, Friday, the weekend, and then on Monday I'd think, well, you know, it's Monday, it's the worst day of the week, so, and it carried on. So I won't tell you the story because I'm telling that on another video story thing, but I ended up getting cirrhosis, and I got that on February. I got diagnosed with that in February of 2021. Now on the day I got diagnosed, like I've just said, I'll tell that. I'm telling that story somewhere else. Well, I'm telling that story on another story. But as it stands, on February the 19th, 2021, I quit drinking. My wife took away all the alcohol out of the house. I mean, I thought I was going to be, I don't need that, I can manage. You can't, you need help. I didn't go down the help of going away to rehabilitation or whatever. I didn't have a doctor like helping me on coming down slowly. It is dangerous the way I did it, but I did it. I had no choice, I had to get off it. So on February the 19th, 2021, I just stopped drinking. Now, that sounds easy, don't it? Well, if you've quit smoking, or if you've tried to lay off alcohol for a month, some people can do it, you know, and some people aren't. I don't know how to say this. When I talk to some people, say, yeah, you wasn't an alcoholic, you was an addict, addicted to it, you've got an addictive, whatever you want to call it. I drank too much beer and I couldn't live without it. Call it what you will. Anyway, so I tried all the first 3 weeks I was shaking really bad. My sister-in-law come round, and the first thing when she seen me, she just went, "Oh, my name's Emlyn. They call me Em for short." So she couldn't believe how ill I looked. Although I was ill from cirrhosis. I was yellow, but the shaking was unbelievable. I was here trying to play cards with my wife and my stepson, and I couldn't virtually hold the cards because I was shaking that much. And then we played dominoes, and I couldn't hold them. They were falling out my hands. I was shaking that much. But then you have to think of, not only are you doing that like cold turkey, but you're also the habit of going to the fridge, getting a beer. So what do you do? Well, you start with coffee. That don't work. Not to compensate for alcohol, but you start having a cup of coffee in the day, or a cup of tea. I'm English, but so you start all these different ways of trying to take it out of your mind. So how I did it is what you're probably waiting for. So I did all that, and I bought ginger beer. I tried having ginger beer, or I asked my wife to get it because I didn't go out of the house for so long, and it was nice, but then it was too sweet and it wasn't beer, didn't have the same taste. I always told my wife, it's not the alcohol, it's the taste. Well, that's lying, because of course it's the alcohol, otherwise I would never have drank alcohol. But so then I seen these beers that say 0%, and then if you look on the back of them, they say 0.0. So you have to really check, because some say, I don't know whatever country you're in, I don't know what laws they have, but some of them you can have up to 0.5, 0.7 I think in some countries, where they can still class it as alcohol free. Well, obviously it's not, it's got 0.7 alcohol in, so you have to be really careful what you're looking for. But that was my way out of, I get the 0.0 beer. Now, from the beginning, you'll taste it and you'll think, that tastes horrible, it doesn't taste like beer. But the camera just turned itself off for some reason. Anyway, that was what I started drinking instead, to try and take away the, not just that of course, because one, I was drinking half litres, cans we have over here, 0.5 litre. I was drinking anything, okay, not every day, but most days I was drinking at least 12, it could be 24 in a day. I was just constantly, I was drinking like crazy. My wife, bless her, she said to me, you've got to pack up drinking. I hid some of it, some of the cans that I had, they'd disappear out of the house if she wasn't in, like she isn't now. I'd go and put some in the bin or something, anything, just to keep her happy. But it wasn't, it was keeping me in, not being told you've got to quit, or coming to that realisation that you've got to pack up. That was hard. But I got over it, so anybody can get over it. That's my way of saying it. But anyway, I just started drinking this 0%. Now, for me, it don't work for everybody. Other people's, I'll try sparkling water. You can try what you want, but for me, the beer 0%. Anyway, I started drinking that on a small basis, as I had 1 bottle, 2 bottles. And gradually I got better, but I also got myself a hobby. Now, not everybody can afford the hobby I got. I can't afford the hobby I got. I decided to buy a boat. I went into debt to buy the boat, but because all of a sudden my money, instead of being thrown into alcohol, was there. So I got a loan and I bought a boat, and where I bought the boat was 2 hours away to drive. Now that was a good thing to start with, because then I had to drive there. And now before, when I was drinking, I couldn't own that boat. 1, I couldn't afford it. 2, I'd have to have a drink before I could go anywhere, so I couldn't drive to it because I'd never drink and drive. So, you know, every time I was, this boat was so special to me. It lasted 6 months, and then I bought another one, and then I bought another one. Different story. But yeah, I can't afford it, but I'd rather put my money into something like that than to put it into alcohol. Now, every time, because you will get depressed, you will get fed up, I think, well, I've got the boat. I wouldn't have the boat if I packed up drinking. And you can drink coffee. I can sometimes drink some of this 0% and start drinking more and more, and I'm like, whoa, calm down, you don't need it. It's just a soda drink, basically. So that's my way of dealing with it. And now, honestly to God, I don't miss drinking alcohol. When I go to England to visit, I look forward, as daft as it sounds, and like I say, people might not believe me. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me. I'm only kidding myself if I'm lying. That's it. That's the way this is about alcohol. In a total big, whatever you want to call it, bubble, if you don't admit it, you're only not admitting it to yourself. It's everybody else is doesn't matter when it comes to this. It's for you personally, and for me, I know how I am. My wife, when my wife went out, the first thing I'd do is go in the fridge and open a beer. Simple as that. Because while she's out, she's not listening to me opening the can. That's it. So I could have a quick drink, and then when she got back, oh, I'm drinking a cup of coffee. Yeah, that's how I worked. So you tell me. But now it doesn't have to, because, like I say, 3 years in February, I'll be 3 years sober in February, and like with Christmas in a couple of days, and my wife's getting me a bottle of this red wine, alcohol free. Also, again, you have to watch that because some of it's got 0. whatever % in, so I have to ask for the 0.0. It tastes like dilute, we call it in England dilute pop, which is like I don't know what you call it, juice. But when everybody's sitting around the table with their glass of wine and whatnot, I've got a glass of wine. That's, I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to kid anybody here. That is not the same. But my beer that I have, the 0% is. And when I go to England, as I was saying, I'm happy to sit in a pub with my family, with my friends, with whoever, if I can get my 0% beer. If I can't, I don't want to be in there drinking Coke or water but that's me. Last visit I made to England, I went in a pub with my brother-in-law. Again, it's pub world where I come from. They're not all raging alcoholics. It was, you know, it's just a meeting place basically. And I mean, my dad is 77. On a Sunday afternoon he goes and has a few pints with my brother-in-law, his son-in-law, 3 maybe, and that's it for the week. Unless I'm over, then we'll go out for a meal, and then we'll have a drink with a meal, or they will. I will, my alcohol free. But when I was over, I went in this pub which I've never liked. and my brother-in-law was asking, have you got any 0%? And the one I drink a lot of in England is Heineken, because it's freely available, and I know it's 0%. There's no disclaimer, well, there is a disclaimer here, as you say. I'm not giving anybody advice, I'm just telling you how I do it. Anyway, was in this pub and he was asking, and then somebody come up, one of them, who I knew from years ago, and he said, oh, that shitty alcohol-free crap. I said, I just looked and said, you haven't got to drink it. And it so annoyed me, because I'm thinking, what, do you have to be this big man because you drink alcohol? I was like, oh, piss off. And then another man who works in a brewery, he just looked at me and he said, that's like drinking water, you may as well drink water. I said, so's beer. And he's like, yeah, you may as well drink water. I said, well, then I will. Oh, I said, I like this. You don't have to drink it, so do one. You know, that's 2 people I've met since quitting drinking. Just 2 people in 3 years nearly that seem to have a problem. And also on Facebook, I put something on Facebook totally irrelevant to drinking, and somebody put, oh, have a drink. Like, so you will get them people, and you ignore them, because I think a lot of them, they're too scared to admit that they think, wow, I couldn't do that. So there you go. That's the way I look at it, and I don't care. You know, I did at that point, because it really annoyed me. I thought, why is it so stupid to not drink alcohol? But then I walked away and thought, well, I've got a boat that paid for, that they can't afford because they go out drinking. I have a life because I got told if I carried on, the doctor told me there and then I had between 1 to 3 months to live. I'm still here 3 years later. I keep saying 3 years, nearly 3 years. And so my life now consists of, obviously, hospital visits. Yes, I'm at the hospital next on January the 5th. I'm also at the doctor's. I'm waiting for test results again today as we speak. This is around blood and issues with cirrhosis. But one of the biggest things is my liver is now stable. I have cirrhosis of the liver, but my liver is stable, which is brilliant, and it will stay that way, so they tell me, as long as I stick to not drinking again. And I don't that's the thing, that don't make me depressed to say that. I don't think, oh my God, I could never drink again. I literally don't care. Now, the amount of beer I was drinking, I needed to quit. I couldn't come down. I did try coming down and like going to another level. Doesn't last. And my thought before I quit drinking was, I don't want to quit drinking. I can't quit drinking. I was scared of having to think of a life without being able to have a beer or have a glass of wine or whatever. Now it doesn't bother me, and I can assure you, I can swear sitting here, I will never drink again, because I don't need to. It's that simple. I don't need to. So anyway, if any of it's been helpful, great. Please take it on board. If you're trying to quit yourself, get help. Talk to a doctor. But anything, if you're in the process of quitting right now, then just don't buy anything with alcohol. It's a silly thing to say, but I'm talking about these, what I've talked about. Sometimes you can get a alcohol free and it turns out to have alcohol in, and you go into a panic then, because that did happen to me and my wife once. The local brewery, 0.7%. That's not free of alcohol to me, so I was quite annoyed at that. But you don't take. I'm not a doctor. Don't take my words as a, well, he says so, it must be true. or it must work. It did for me. It does for me, and it will for me, because I will never start drinking again, except for coffee, and except for me 0% drinks and my Coca-Cola, which I don't drink very often, but there you go, it's there. And ginger beer, that's really nice, alcohol free, which as grown up as a child I never thought you could put alcohol in ginger beer, but there you go. Anyway, well, thanks for listening, and hope it has been of some help to you, and I'll be coming up with other videos of my story about my cirrhosis and whatever, my life and stuff. So anyway, have a great Christmas, and Happy New Year, and I hope to see you back on something else I talk about soon. Bye bye.